Hi, welcome to this episode of Gridiron TV. I am Stuart Young and I'm also joined by Alan Price. Alan, what do we have on tonight's show?
Well, first of all, we'll have Steve McCusker, a bit of a legend of the British game. He's been around the game himself. He's going to be talking about the Jim Criner Summer Football Camp, which he's helped running. It's just coming up at the end of July, so we're going to find out some details about that.
So you're going to be chatting about details of if it's for coaches.
Exactly, explaining what's involved, how people can get registered and what they're actually going to receive from the camp. And
also on tonight's show, we're going to be speaking to Mr. Pete Laird, who is the head coach of the Edinburgh Napier Knights. And also we have a very special guest. We have legendary NFL pundit Mike Carlson, who I spoke to quite recently, discussing what he knows about British football and looking previously at the NFL draft as well. So don't go away, Gridiron TV, we'll be right back. Hi, welcome back to Gridiron TV. Alan, before we go and speak to Steve McCusker, go and tell us a little bit more about Jim Criner's camp that's coming up.
So it's the Jim Criner Summer Football Camp, running end of July through to the beginning of August. It's designed to work with players to give them a little bit more coaching from top level coaches. We've got Jim Criner himself, former Scottish Claymore head coach. We've also got Lynn Stiles, who's a Super Bowl winner, a Pro Bowl representative as well. You've also got guys like Euro Bowl and World Bowl, Philip Gardent. So again, guys that have been around the sport at the top levels, and also Great British Lions coaches are going to be there. So it's going to be broken up into two segments. So you'll have a section for different positions on the field. So it's going to be a residential camp. Guys are going to be there. They're going to be involved in football, getting coaching throughout the day, watching film, just getting the full experience. And
just get basically the breakdown X's and O's basically, and just generally giving their experiences in football and what they've found that works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, so it's designed for young athletes who are coming through now playing youth junior football or even senior football to get that next level of coaching and trying to improve their game.
I mean, again, it's fantastic. We've had two excellent camps recently. We had FBU over, as we had on the show, but then we've got Jim Criner coming back to have a chat with our athletes as well. I mean, it's fantastic for British football having these two levels of camps to try and teach our youngsters.
And it shows that there is a lot of talent in the country at the moment. So there's a lot of these coaches coming over now and recognising that there are athletes over here and there are people that are talented enough to deserve and warrant that extra coaching.
Yeah.
And it really makes a difference to the game.
Good. Well, you want to introduce the video, Alan?
Yeah, certainly. Let's speak to Steve right now. Well, we're now joined by one of the legends of football in the UK, Stephen McCusker, former Claymores coach, national coach, very experienced. So thank you for joining us on the show.
No problem, Alan. Thanks very much for having me.
So we're here to talk about one thing in particular, the Jim Criner Summer Football Camp. Can you tell us a little bit, first of all, of how the idea came around in the first place?
Well, Coach Criner's been working in France on and off for about the past 3 years or so. And ever since Coach left Scotland, he's continued to be my head coach and mentor. And obviously when he came to France, we've been in touch. And since I stopped working for the Claymores and we stopped putting on the kids' summer camps, there's been a huge hole in the football market, to use a marketing phrase, but certainly the kids need that level of twice daily practice with video analysis, and the fact that there hasn't been anything since then has really not helped certainly the youth junior kids progress as far and as quickly as they should have done. So Coach Criner and I have been chatting on and off about bringing these camps back for a number of years. And this year he didn't have any family commitments in the summer, and we talked about setting him up. We talked about setting one up in Denmark as well, and that never quite came off. They've got a full schedule this summer. He's doing one in Spain with Marcos Girles, who's the national used to be the national coach of the Barcelona Dragons, and obviously one in Scotland. The original plans were we would put on 2 in the UK, one up here and one somewhere down south, but just by the nature of how many facilities the Olympics have grabbed, made that impossible to have one down south.
Well, it's looking at the list of coaches. It's an amazing resource, really. You've got Coach Criner, you mentioned. You've also got Lynn Stiles and Philip Gardent from World Ball and Euroball experience. So no doubt there's a lot of talents there available for the kids that are attending this camp. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, obviously Coach Criner, everybody in Scotland knows, and he is. He's probably more widely known as the kind of offensive line guru, but really, coach, he's been coaching forever, ever since he started putting air in footballs, and he's coached every position, and also alongside him is his very, very old friend Lynn Stiles, and if you look at the bios, Coach Criner and Coach Stiles both started out at the same time in California, alongside a guy you might have heard of before, Vic Vermeil, and all of those guys all worked together all through high school, early college days at USC, and again, I was lucky enough in 2004 to go to a training camp with the Kansas City Chiefs when Coach Vermeil was the head coach, and Coach Criner was the head of pro scouting, and Lynn Stiles, he was Coach Criner's boss back then, and really, Coach Stiles has been around the NFL for over 30 years, and like Coach Criner has coached pretty much every position at a professional level. So those two guys, even if they were doing it themselves, would just be a fantastic lineup and a fantastic resource for players and coaches to get involved with. And the other guy that's coming over with them is Coach Criner's right-hand man in France, Philippe Gardon. And Philippe's a young guy, but he's packed a lot of experience in it, especially for a young French guy. He's packed a lot of experience in. I coached him in 1999 when he played for the Team European All-Star team. And since then, he's come through, played in the NFL Europe, he's won Euro Bowls, he's played in the NFL for about 2 or 3 years with the Redskins and Jacksonville Jaguars, and he's a guy that's come from where all of us have, and he's gone to the NFL. He's lived the dream, and he's coming over to help the kids, tell them how they can do it.
Can you give us a little bit of insight into the camp format? It's going to be over 5 days during the week, beginning 30th of July, running through to August 3rd, but it's going to separate it into 2 different camps based on, as I understand, it's a kind of a run emphasis and a pass emphasis. Is that correct?
Pretty much, yeah. What we're going to do is more like lineman and non-lineman type camp, or as I like to call it, big skilled people and small skilled people is the way we're going to break it up. Coach Criner came up with the idea 3 or 4 months ago to break it down into specialised skill camps. And I think in the UK, there's not that many people who are conditioned enough to go through 5 days or 2 days. And we found that in the NFL Europe camps by the Thursday and Friday, where the kids, they would start to get fatigued, we see some injuries, we have to start toning it down a little bit. And really the way these camps work best is if they're completely 100% intense from start to finish, and people go away with the same football madness that they came with, rather than feeling a little bit tired and sore and all that kind of stuff. So we broke it down, but first couple of days are going to be based around the big skill people, and it's going to be mainly on the run game, but we're going to work a little bit on pass rush and pass protection as well. Less about scheme and more about technique and footwork and hand placement and all those things which Coach Criner ingrained in me when I was trying to play football. And then the second camp is going to be all around, based around the 7-on-7 drill. It's going to be the passing game. It's going to be probably some one-on-one competitive stuff as well. But mainly at the end of it, we're going to line up 7 defenders against 7 offensive guys, and we're going to run some team drills.
And this is a residential camp as well, but before we go on to find out how people can register, will people who are not able to stay over and be residential, are they still welcome to the camp?
Yeah, sure. We'll get two rates of border and non-border rates for each of the different variations. You can come to Camp 1, you can come to Camp 2, and you can come to both. And you can do all of that either residential or non-residential. And again, there's appropriate levels of payment for each of those.
Okay, so how do people go about registering for the camp?
Well, there is a Facebook page. If you look for Jim Criner Summer Camps, there's a group there that you can request to join, and there's a link on there. If anybody, let me just check the email address. If anyone would like to register,
we'll also make all the Gridiron TV viewers aware. We'll post links on our website as well. So if you are interested in joining the camp and attending, either head over to the Facebook page or this email address, or you can head over to the Gridiron TV website where you can find information on how to register and how to take advantage of this.
Yeah, well, again, it's we're not completely full yet, but places are fast filling up, and as there is a little bit of demand for. I originally limited it to 15 to 25-year-olds. Thinking we'd only get 1 or 2 guys over the age of 25, but apparently there's a little bit more demand than I thought there was going to be, so we might open up the age group. So first thing people have to do is register, and if you don't register, you're not going to secure a spot. So we need to try and figure out if there's going to be demand for the kind of older guys before we open it up. But they go register, and all I can do is I'll deal with each registration as it comes in. But certainly there are still places left, and you can register by emailing me at jimcrinercamps@gmail.com. And as I say, there is quite a lot of availability at the hotel we're going to be staying at in Stirling, and that's going to be the limiting factor for the residential spots. Obviously, the non-residential spots will take as many of those as we can get. But people need to start registering quickly, because there is going to be a cut-off date within the next couple of weeks.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you at the camp. We'll try and attend ourselves. So thanks for joining us, Coach. It's great to hear about the camp, and good luck for getting as many guys in as possible.
Okay, well, listen, thanks for your help. You guys are doing a fantastic job with Gridiron TV, and it's going the right way, and it's publicising the right things, and I wish you guys very best of luck with that too.
Well, that's a great interview, Alan, with Stephen McCusker. We're going to be there.
Yep. Yeah, we'll be there covering it, so we'll be able to bring you highlights after the event, but really looking forward to it. Sounds exciting. It's
going to be brilliant. It's going to be a really, really good week all round. So don't go away. We'll be right back. We'll be joined by Pete Laird, head coach of the Edinburgh Napier Knights. Hi, welcome back. I'm now pleased to be joined by Pete Laird, head coach of the Edinburgh Napier Knights. Pete, thanks very much for coming back on and having a chat with us.
Great to be back in the show, Stuart.
Good. So what have you been up to since the last time we spoke?
Well, it's off-season for uni ball, but that doesn't mean the work stops. It's very busy for most of the coaches at the moment. We're busy prepping, getting ready for the new season, new students coming in, getting rid of the old students who are graduating, and so really it's all about planning and prep for next season already.
So what have you been doing for recruitment for the uni side? Have you been doing much in terms of
people on? Essentially we wait and see who comes through the door in a lot of cases. We do know some students who've already contacted us who are coming to join the programme, so very excited about some of the names that are stepping up to join Edinburgh Napier University and play for the Knights. So looking forward to the year ahead. It should be a very good one.
Good. Well, Pete, the reason we've got you on the show, we had a big announcement recently through the channels at BAFCA. There's a potential tie-up between them and the BUCS system.
Correct, yeah.
And just to let people know that there's nothing been signed or sealed yet at the moment, but can you tell people at home, what BUCS will offer the university teams?
Well, just to explain a little, BUCS is the national governing body for university sports. It's an umbrella organisation. Universities and colleges throughout this country have somewhere in the region of 2.3 million students, and of them, there's about 100,000 of them participating in sport. And BUCS as an umbrella organisation looks after all of those sports that are competitive within the university. So there's about 150 different sports that are competing. Whilst American football has been played in the UK at university level since the 80s, we've never been able to get BUCS recognition. Now it's looking very positive at the moment. Andy Fuller, the BUFL president, is doing a great job in trying to finalise an agreement with BUCS. What it will mean is hopefully greater access to funding. It will be give the sport a higher profile in all that the BUCS support and their website and all the information that they put out. It'll also help us get greater recognition for good student athletes who will perhaps be awarded university blues and so on. So really, the implications for the sport is huge for university American football. Some universities will be affected more than others, but the revenue streams and doors that will open because of BUCS recognition, it's really going to be helpful to us, and it's something we've been striving for a very long time.
When you said earlier on, off air, you spoke to Andy Fuller earlier today to get some sort of more information. Do we know how long it's going to take to really get this sort of contract signed, sealed and delivered so we can get it out?
Well, I don't want to step on Andy's toes and put my foot in it at the same time.
No, understand.
But at the time that we're filming this, it's very much a case of it's been through the initial discussions with BUCS, and the first step has been passed, and it will go on to more formal negotiations after that between BUCS and BUFL. So excellent. Fingers crossed, we're all very hopeful that we'll get a positive decision. And
we mentioned there about Uniball being around since the 80s. Why is it taking so long for American football to be recognised? Is that a question you can answer? If you can't, it's fine. But
to be honest, nobody really knows why it's taken this long. There are other sports recognised by BUCS, such as surfing. And you would wonder why surfing perhaps is recognised and American football hasn't been.
Yeah.
But it's always been the case because American football because we are run under the auspices of BAFCA and we already have a governing body, right. That it's been difficult to shoehorn what we do into what BUCS requires. But I'm glad to say Andy's seems to be doing a really good job here in trying to cross the T's and dot the I's, as they say.
I mean, it's positive progress for the sport in general, because a lot of these uni players do play senior ball, and obviously youth players will potentially go to university as well. So all levels of American football in the UK are going to benefit from this in the longer term.
Sure, I am.
So, I mean, other than that, which is good news, you're going to talk about the BAFCA convention. It's taking place later this year. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that and what to expect?
Sure. BAFCA convention we have annually. It's run by the British American Football Coaches Association. We have our conference every year. It's a 3-day event. This year it's going to be held in Yarnfield, which is in Staffordshire. So it's a good old 5-hour car journey down there for me. In a car filled with offensive line coaches, of course.
I'm sure you'll
so that'll be nice and comfortable journey. And it's a 3-day event. We have guest coaches are invited over. Usually we get some guest coaches from America. This year's no exception. We've got Hal Mumm coming over, and he's the head coach at what's the name of it now? McMurray University. He's the head coach at McMurray University.
You sure?
Yeah. I wrote it down. I wrote it down. Okay, he's the head coach at McMurray University, and he's actually one of the architects behind the air raid offense, and he's considered to be a great offensive mastermind, and I'm really looking forward to him talk. We also have Pete Kowalski, who's the defensive coordinator at Boise State University, coming over. And we also have Jeff Popovich, who's the defensive backs coach at Florida International University. So that's 3 really good names coming over from the States. Really. It's unbelievable. These coaches will come over, they'll talk perhaps, they'll give 3 different separate presentations. There's lots of talks going on in different rooms all at the same time, and you basically pick and choose which coaches you want to go and listen to. So if you want to go and listen...
I believe you're doing a talk.
I am indeed, yes. So you might want to bump the guy from Boise State to come and talk to Coach Pete. No, I'll be doing a short presentation all about organising university programmes. So for instance, there's something for coaches in my field as well as people who want to go and learn from somebody who probably a little bit more knowledgeable than I am.
Of course.
So it's a fantastic experience.
But it gives people options, a bit of variety for the weekend.
Yeah.
So when is the weekend taking place? What date?
It's between the 29th of June and the 1st of July. So it's Fridays 29th of June through to Sunday the 1st of July. As I say, it's being held in the Yarnfield Conference Centre, so there's accommodation there, or you can just go down and be a day visitor. And all the information about how to attend the event is on the BAFCA website. So if you want to Google
we'll post
BAFCA,
that up later. We'll actually post it on the show later on as we go through. So I mean, obviously, other than that, there's more coaching events happening. We've got Mr.
Jim Criner's coming
Criner,
back.
That's it. The head coach of the Scottish Claymores coming back to do a week-long coaching session.
That's right. He's actually running 2 separate clinics. So there's an opportunity for players to go and attend. It's a camp with accommodation, so you go to the camp. You'll get a chance to be coached by Coach Criner and a few of his other experienced coaches who he's going to bring over with him. It's a fabulous opportunity for young players to go and learn from a great, coaching legend in Scotland and the UK. It's going to be held at Stirling University. Coach Rabor, who I believe couldn't make it today, and I'm a poor substitute for it.
Not at all.
But he's done a fantastic job at Stirling in organising a lot of these camps. It's another great opportunity for American footballers in Scotland particularly, and hopefully from throughout the UK to come up and attend the football camp.
I mean, there's more and more of these camps happening for people to come and learn. We had the Football University over recently in April, and obviously we have Jim Criner coming on as well. I mean, we've got to get more and more of these top coaches coming over and helping develop not only coaches but young players as well.
Well, I see it as a real positive. I mean, one of the things that our sport has really benefited from is the education of our coaches, the ability for these coaches to learn more and pass more on to our players, to get more coaches. Now we're seeing this being utilised through camps, which means the players can now go and share this experience with other players, other types of coaching, learning lots of different skills. It's really fantastic to see the sport develop in this way. It's been a long time, and the sport has gone in cycles a lot of the time. I've been here through all of it.
Yeah, well, we know that. Yeah.
I know I look like a young pup, but I've been here for most of it.
Used to be when you started, was it?
But it's been fantastic to see. We've had when NFL Europe first came over, and the World League before that, there was obviously a huge growth in the game. It shrank again after that, but we're seeing it really growing all over again. And this time, what's different, I think, is that our players are getting better and our coaches are getting better, and we're seeing now, even in just small bits. Our football players actually going abroad to Europe and playing in leagues abroad and stepping up a level, in some cases going over to Division 1 in America and perhaps getting scholarships. So.
Well, you're right, we see it all along. We've got your running back who plays in Belgium, played for Dundee Hurricanes. And obviously we've also looked at Berlin Adler, who recently beat London Blitz. We've got 2 UK guys playing in their squad. So you're right, they're all over the place. We've got young Tom Watt, who's playing with the Sooners just now. And it just seems to be getting better and better. But this is all down to the coaching. But you're right, it's more athletes we're seeing within the game, which is really important.
I think that's also a compliment to the coaches. The coaches have worked hard, and the coaching program has developed, and it's great when I go down to coaching conference. I meet with a lot of old coaches that I've known from a long time ago, and to see players who I've coached now step up to become coaches themselves, and hopefully this vast experience of knowledge and expertise has been passed on to the players, so they're getting better, they're getting involved younger, they're getting stronger, they're getting faster, and they're learning a lot as they come up. And the potential for our players to do something with their football now, they compete at the highest level. It's really pleasing to see as a coach myself.
Yeah, good. Well, Pete, thank you very much for joining us on today's show, and good luck with your talk at the coaches convention. I hope you'll have a full room.
And I hope it's not on a Sunday morning, because
I hope not, mate. I hope not. I know what you're like. But look, thanks for joining us. I appreciate you taking your time out. So don't go away. Gridiron TV. We'll be right back. Well, it was great having Pete Laird on the show to certainly share the British Coaches Convention. I mean, every year we hear people we know in the sport who attend the coaches convention. It's just a fantastic weekend where they get to go and learn from guest speakers who have been flown especially from America, and great experiences.
And as we were mentioning, with coaches coming over not only to teach athletes and players, they're also coaching the coaches. So it's really important to get these top level coaches coming across, like you mentioned, and imparting their knowledge so that our coaches can come and teach our players, as it were.
Alan, we talk about Jim Criner's clinic, we talk about youth players. Moving on to what Gridiron TV, I've got a great announcement for our viewers this evening. We're actually being invited by the Filton Academy to travel to Germany to follow them in their game against the Ramstein Royals. Now, Ramstein Royals are 2009 Division 1 champions in Germany and play out at Frankfurt. And now it's a great opportunity for Gridiron TV to go and promote the youth side of football, and we'll be travelling with them for their game on the 15th of September in Germany, and we'll be filming a fly in the wall documentary, so you get a chance to see what it takes to take that next level as a youngster and show all the preparations it takes for these guys to go to Germany, go on a 23-hour bus trip, and then get off the bus and go and play a game of football. It certainly beats travelling from London to say Bristol for a game.
Exactly, it puts it into perspective when you've got 1 or 2 hours to go you know, through a whole day to travel. I'm seeing guys down in Bristol talking about, for example, Alex Jenkins. We've met him before on the show. And leading into these camps, we're going to also wish him good luck for the Top Gun Academy run through FBU. That's in Virginia coming up, not far away now, only a few weeks away. So it's another chance for really top level coaching for some of our UK athletes.
Well, it's great because not very many UK athletes have ever been invited to the Top Gun Challenge, and they get to go up against some of the best kids in America. Yeah,
so it's a great example of how well the Filton Academy run their system, how well they train their players, and also just to UK athletes in general and how they're developing and aiming for the top.
But let's not forget though, here in Gridiron TV, we certainly promote the youth game, but these players certainly wouldn't be at the level to go to Top Gun or to go to the FPU clinic if it wasn't for the youth coaches we have in the UK at the moment. So certainly credit to those coaches, and keep up the good work and make sure that we're teaching the kids the right fundamentals and giving them the right attitude, which is always good.
Yeah, we've heard on previous shows from guests we've had on about how important it is to get them developed early, get them involved in the sport early, so they can go to the gym, they can learn the sport and build up the fundamentals. So by the time it comes to senior football, they're already 2 or 3 steps ahead.
Especially the experiences of playing in America as well.
Yeah, that's a big
great.
Step.
We'll go on to that. I've got an interview now with Mike Carlson. And Mike Carlson and I discussed what he knows about British football, but specifically we talked about the NFL, the recent drafts as well, and tried to get Mike to really commit to a Super Bowl winner, but he wouldn't do it. But you listen to who he thinks the teams to look out for us. So here's an interview with Mike Carlson. Mike, thank you very much for coming on the show and chatting with us tonight.
It's a pleasure.
We've followed you for many years on the television, following the NFL on Channel 4, Channel 5. And you've been in the UK for some years now. What do you make of British football in general?
Well, the best thing in my mind about British football has always been the enthusiasm. And I thought in the mid-'80s, I sort of thought that the game might be able to get over a hump, as it were, to develop and to become a relatively high-quality game. Now, the reality is that you get over that hump and you develop, and you're probably still at the level of Germany, say, and it's not necessarily that high quality. But what you have to remember is that the people playing are amateur, playing a sport which is probably the most technically demanding of any sport in the world, and basically usually only able to practice 1 or 2 days a week, which makes it very difficult to play at a high level. So over the years, when I've seen British football, I've often seen players who I recognize have a load of talent and could be very, very good, but realistically, they would have to go somewhere else to play to develop to the level that they were capable of. So what you often see is a lot of very good football being played in the context of a game that may not be quite so good.
Of course. I mean, obviously NFL is a completely different entity beyond any league in the world. But do you see British football potentially being in comparison of the semi-pro leagues in the States?
Yeah, that's a good comparison, because when you watch semi-pro football in the States, you get much the same feeling. You see guys who were probably better players at one time than they are now. But you have to remember that most of those guys did go through the extensive coaching process of, realistically, youth football, then high school football, and usually college football. So there's an awful lot of experience backed up in there. I was having an argument with somebody recently about, whether or not if my son wanted to play American football, I would do it. And I basically said, if he wanted to, and if I was sure that the high school football coach, wasn't as crazy as mine was, I'd be happy to let him do that. But I would not want him to play youth football before his body was kind of ready, because in my mind, you can't learn to play properly until your body's ready to play properly.
Of course. So you really want to adopt a flag kind of system for youth football?
Something like that, I think, is fine for growing up. I really shudder when I see 7 or 8 year old kids wearing full equipment and playing, in effect, tackle football.
I think the good thing about the UK is, though, you generally are not allowed to play kitted football until you're 14.
Which makes pretty good sense. I mean, I started when I was 13 in high school, and I was ready at that point. I wanted to play at that point, but I don't think I would have gained anything by playing at 10 or 11.
Of course, because you had the Pee Wee leagues in those days, didn't you?
They did exist. Most of them were weight limit leagues, though, and I remember actually going to try out for one, and I was over the weight limit.
Mike, we spoke off air just a second ago. We explained about the Football University coming to the United Kingdom,
right,
to help to coach our young athletes and develop them into training better and becoming better athletes. Is this the beginning of potentially seeing more UK players reaching higher levels in the States?
Well, it may be a beginning, but again, American football is so coaching intensive that, you almost want to see them coaching people to coach kids to play, because the coaching process is one that has to go on for a long period of time before you actually learn to play the game properly, assuming you're not growing up playing it one way or the other. And if you take 10 coaches and bring them over and they coach 1,000 kids, that's great on the side. But if you take 10 coaches and bring them over and they coach, say, 100 coaches who are then qualified to go out there, they'll coach 10,000 kids. And and I really think if the game's going to grow, it's in the coaching area that's going to have to.
Yeah, I mean, speaking to the coaches came over, and especially Cecil Martin, who you know very well. All credit must also go to the teams in the UK and the youth setups that they have at the moment, because they wouldn't be at that standard to then go to San Antonio and potentially play in the Alamo Dome without proper coaching within the UK. Yeah,
I'm not trying to put things down. What I am doing, I think, after being in the country for 35 years, is just sort of making sure expectations don't get ahead, of where the game has to go. And my feeling after that time is that it's always going to be a hard sell as a developmental sport, because it's not the kind of thing where you can just pick up a ball, play for a while, and graduate into organized sport.
Of course.
It's much more difficult than that. And that's why I admire guys who do it for fun. It's, it requires an awful lot of time. It requires an awful lot of effort. And I don't think people understand, exactly how much goes into it. It's not like just showing up and beating each other up for 2 hours.
Of course. No, I appreciate that. I mean, you played yourself as a tight end back in college. Tell us about your experience as a player yourself going through the college in the States. Now, what division were you in?
Well, I played in Division 3. And funnily, coming back from a reunion at my university just a few weeks ago, I for some reason was on a panel talking about my academic, and I chose to go to Wesleyan, the Division 3 school over the University of Pennsylvania, which is Division 1, primarily because they didn't have any huge expectations for me.
Okay.
And at Penn, they were going to give me, quite a good deal, actually. and we'll do this for you, and you should have to do this for us and do that for us. And doing that for us involved lifting weights, not playing freshman football, and not playing lacrosse at all. Mm-hmm. And when I went up to Wesleyan, the football coach, who was also the athletic director, said to me, well, we'd love to have you come here. We really want you to play. But if you don't want to play, no one's going to care.
No, of course. Yeah.
It's not that bad. And I thought, this is great. The kid's kind of like the motivation comes from yourself. Oh, and turned out he was a great coach. We had an undefeated season, and the unofficial sort of, it's called the Lambert Cup, the small college championship of the East. And we won the Little Three my first 2 years, and Wesleyan has not won the Little Three outright since, which makes me sound like one of those Miami Dolphin guys, except I don't. I don't relish that fact. I keep telling them that they ought to get their fingers out and win it.
This is very true, and you always see the Dolphin fans go on about how they won it back in the 70s. But something, it's history, and and looking at where you've got now, you're a well-renowned journalist within obviously the UK. We know you better for being on NFL shows on the BBC, Channel 5, Channel 4. What made you get into sports journalism?
Well, the reason I did was quite simply, I was the only person in a television newsroom. It was a news agency called UPITN. We worked at ITN back in Wells Street in those days, but we were run by United Press, who could write a cricket story.
Okay.
And I was editing a news feed that we sent to Australia, and I sent myself, as the editor, down with a camera crew to Arundel to cover the first match of the Australian cricket tour. And this must have been might have been even 81, when there was that great test match at Headingley. And they played the Duchess of Norfolk's 11 at Arundel Castle. And so we did some filming, and at the end I did a stand-up sign-off for Channel 9 in Australia, who we were shooting it for. Mm-hmm. And we satellited the film to them. We came back to London, cut it, sent it by satellite. I came in the next day, and there was this telex from Channel 9 Australia saying, don't ever let that guy do another story. So the editor was really upset, and called me in his office. So we went out, we got the film, we put it on the Steenbeck and looked at it and listened to the commentary. I said, I don't see anything wrong with it. There's no mistakes there. And we called, a couple of people in, and he called up in the when the time difference was right, he called Australia, which in those days was a rare thing to do, and got to speak to their editor. He said, we got your telex here, and we looked at the film, and we really can't figure out what's wrong with it. Can you tell us what's wrong with it? He said, well, there's nothing wrong with it, but he's a bloody Yank, isn't he? So that when it was all finished, the editor turned around to me and said, how do you understand cricket? And I said, well, it's a sport, and games are easy to understand. Said, do you want to be our sports editor? And I said, okay. And from that point, I was doing sports, and that was news agency coverage. It was a lot of fun, and but I was doing it all myself, and eventually I left and went to work for ABC Sports in the real heyday of the program called Wide World of Sports, when we were really covering things all over the world. And 1 year I think I was away 43 weekends 1 year doing different sports events. And I really think that's where I learned to be able to analyze sport. I wasn't doing commentary. I was helping set up the events. Basically, I was buying rights, setting up the shows. You would learn who the people involved were and why they were important. And if you listen to the people covering it, who were covering it and had done so for years, you'd learn an awful lot. And you learn to see things very quickly on camera. So you could understand how programs might get edited if they were being edited and whatever. And I think it was a great training because we covered almost every kind of sport imaginable.
Mike, I want to pick your brain. Obviously, you're well renowned, as I say, in the UK for the NFL punditry. Now, I want to ask you, in your opinion, what was the best and the worst draft pick this year in the NFL?
The first round, as I try to run through my brain here, I will say that I thought the Bengals, amazingly enough, had the best overall draft. Kind of like picks 1 through 7. And again, now the question too is, what do you mean by best? I mean, if Luck or Griffin, turn into a top class NFL quarterback, then it's hard to argue about that they wouldn't be the best pick. But I think I'm really tempted. I'm really tempted to say that the Bengals getting Kirkpatrick and Zeitler both in the first round may be the best, because I think it's two guys who are going to wind up starting for them and playing for a long time. The one I might have liked even more is Fletcher Cox going to the Eagles, because I think he fills a real need for them. I think the guys at the top, the first 4 picks are all very solid, and I wouldn't really argue with any of them. And after that, I think Cox really stood out for me. I think he was a good pick fitting. I think the Bengals got 2 good guys, and oddly enough, I think that New England picking up Dante Hightower and Chandler Jones may well prove to be a good pair of players.
Yeah, people were talking about Hightower and things like that, and who was going to get him, but that's just an absolute major steal for the Patriots. Yeah,
he's a good fit for them. The other guy who I liked a lot doing Big Ten games was A.J. Jenkins, who I think might help the 49ers, more than a little bit. The worst pick, I'm really tempted to say Brandon Weeden.
Okay, why is that?
And because I don't actually think he's ready to be a starting quarterback, and I think the Browns had more pressing needs. In other words, if they were going to upgrade from Colt McCoy, I think they needed someone who was a more clear-cut upgrade.
He doesn't seem to have age on his side, though, being 28 at the moment.
Yeah, and the age doesn't worry me as much as the fact that I'm not convinced that he's going to be able to play under pressure, under NFL pressure. The other guy I thought may have just been overvalued is Harrison Smith, because I did a lot of Notre Dame games, and the Notre Dame secondary, and last year they were all seniors in that secondary, and they never actually stood out to me. Smith makes some plays, but he also seems to make a lot of mistakes. And I noticed the Vikings also took what's his name, Blanton, from Notre Dame. And Blanton was a cornerback, and all for 2 years doing Notre Dame games on Eurosport. I said he's going to have to play safety in the NFL, and I'm convinced that's where he'll wind up. And I'm not sure, if they get 2 rookie safeties from Notre Dame, that's going to be the answer to that.
Very true, very true. No, I mean, I like your insight there. And you're talking about Whedon as well. He's not very good, scrambling and getting out his pocket very good. So it'd be interesting to see, though. He might take that little step up to the NFL, and hopefully, fingers crossed, he might come good. You never know.
Yeah, but I'm not sure I would be ready to give up on Colt McCoy if I were them.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And I'm always sort of leaning to the idea that I can improve the team and make it easier for that guy. And if I don't think he can play, then get rid of him.
Right, Mike, I'm looking for your predictions for the Super Bowl. Who do you think is going to be the team to really, really watch this year?
Well, I mean, I'm not at this stage. I just refuse to pick anything. But a team to really watch. The 2 best balanced teams last year, I thought, in the NFL, in the sense that they had good defenses and a good offense, but not good enough offense to push them through, were Baltimore and San Francisco. And both of them came very close. I think if Baltimore's had some losses now on defense, including Suggs to basketball, but if their offenses can improve, I think they're 2 teams to watch. And of course, the Ravens always have the problem of having to get past the Steelers in that division. And I think the Bengals will be better as well. The team I really think you need to watch this year, though, is Philadelphia. Because I really think that they had problems last year in terms of adjusting to a new defensive coordinator, to a new offensive line coach. They played pretty well coming down the stretch last season, and I think they're going to be pretty good. And again, they're a team that's got a difficult division to get out of, and I think Griffin is going to be a very good fit with the Redskins. And, you know, he, to me, has all the same kind of qualities that John Elway had. And, you know, if Shanahan can't win with him at quarterback, then he might as well just retire and let his son coach the team.
Well, this is very true. I mean, everybody's talking about.
Yeah, my son doesn't. Sorry, my dog just barked. I don't think he likes the Redskins much.
But everybody's talking about RG3 and everybody's talking about Andrew Luck. But I think all eyes will be on one quarterback this season. That's Peyton
Drew
Manning.
Brees.
Peyton Manning.
Yeah, and
is he going to come back at his best? Is he worth $90 million?
I think yes, and probably no. In the sense that I think Denver last year made the playoffs because they got an awful lot of breaks. They probably flattered themselves. I have the feeling that the breaks may not go their way this year, and there may be a period of adjustment with Manning. Although, you know, the idea of Peyton Manning with something to prove and playing like he's got something to prove could be a very scary one for pass defenses, and that's not a particularly strong division. There's a lot of question marks in that division, and you know, I think San Diego could go either way, but it's there to be taken. You know, and that was part of the reason they made the playoffs last year, was that they were playing in a division where San Diego didn't play up to their potential. Kansas City were injury ridden and didn't play up to theirs. And then the other team's the Raiders, of course.
Well, and they lost Bush, didn't they? They lost Bush to the Bears. Yeah.
Although the Raiders, I think, will be better, but not good.
Not playoff challenging.
No.
Okay, no problems. Well, look, Mike, I really appreciate you taking your time out and speaking with us tonight. Again, big thank you. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people I know will be interested in watching this interview because I do respect you as a journalist, and I'd like to wish you all the best of whatever you do in the future.
Yeah, well, let me just say that, you know, if your viewers are, you know, mostly people involved in British football, I've got all the respect in the world, you know, for people who give themselves, not just playing the game, but also trying to make it work and trying to grow the game in this country. And, you know, I really think they deserve an awful lot of appreciation.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll thank you for that, because I know a lot of guys who put a lot of hard work and time and effort outside their family lives to try and grow the sport and make it a better product at the end of the day. So, but Mike, thank you very much again.
Okay.
And
thanks,
we'll
Stuart.
speak to you sometime in the future. Thank you. That was a great interview we had with Mike Carlson there, Alan. I said to you before, you wouldn't commit to a Super Bowl winner, but he's saying he watches the Philadelphia Eagles this season.
Yeah, he really knows his stuff, so you know, I trust him and appreciate him taking the time to talk to us here at Gridiron TV.
And I was very impressed with his knowledge. I mean, he's not only a football pundit, he's into his baseball and basketball and that as well. And he's such an entertaining character to actually listen to. And he's very, very positive, which I really like about speaking to him. I spoke to him off the air after the interview, and he's got so much respect for British coaches, British players, and it's just great to hear that coming from someone who's well renowned within the UK for their knowledge in the game. So big thanks to Alan, and again a big thank you to all our guests on the show, but the biggest thank you goes to our fans for supporting Gridiron TV from the very beginning. So for myself and from Alan, we thank you for watching, and good night.
Good night.